In October 1994, investigators in Switzerland and Quebec responded to coordinated structural fires. Over a few days, they recovered 53 bodies from the wreckage. The forensics teams quickly realized they were looking at a synchronized mass murder and ritual suicide. Many of the victims had been drugged. Some were shot, others were asphyxiated, including young children killed in their sleep before the buildings were deliberately set on fire. The perpetrators behind the fires belonged to a highly secretive doomsday group known as the Order of the Solar Temple. To the members of this group, the events of October 1994 represented a transit, a passage rather than an ending. The group's central doctrine taught that their physical bodies were merely vessels to be discarded, and that this coordinated event would spiritually transport them to a planet orbiting the star Sirius to begin a new life. While many doomsday groups of the era stockpiled weapons or retreated to bunkers, the Solar Temple focused on a highly specific cosmic exit strategy. They believed they were the spiritual successors to the Knights Templar, destined to escape an impending earthly apocalypse. The scale of the coordination baffled investigators, but the identity of the victims proved even more unsettling. The bodies pulled from the ashes belonged to individuals situated within the absolute highest rungs of European and Canadian society. Public perception usually places a specific kind of person inside a doomsday cult. We assume victims are socially isolated, uneducated, or financially desperate, people seeking a basic safety net. The Solar Temple demographic told a different story. These were doctors, wealthy business executives, high-ranking civil servants, and even a town mayor. They were all highly educated, affluent professionals. Psychologists who study group dynamics point out that immense material success can often mask a deep, profound internal emptiness. These were individuals who had conquered their professional lives, but harbored a desperate need for transcendent meaning. Their societal status and intelligence offered no protection. Instead, those exact traits made them the ideal targets for a highly specialized form of psychological manipulation. Two men built the Order of the Solar Temple, Joseph Di Mambro and Luc Jouret. Both had spent the 1970s and 80s embedding themselves deeply within European New Age movements, learning exactly how to speak to spiritual seekers. Researchers who study cult leadership frequently look for the dark triad of personality traits: Machiavellianism, psychopathy, and narcissism. Di Mambro and Jouret possessed a profound narcissism, entirely convinced of their own divine destiny and their right to lead the faithful. To recruit wealthy professionals, they deployed a tactic called love bombing, tailored for the elite. They showered new recruits with intensive support, affection, and intellectual validation, creating an environment that felt sophisticated and exclusive. Over time, that intensive care established a dependency. The leadership steadily severed the members' connections to family and friends outside the group, ensuring that every emotional need had to be met through the cult itself. Once isolated, the members were introduced to the final bait. The founders convinced them that an apocalyptic event would strike Earth in the mid-1990s, and that the temple's leadership held the sole cosmic knowledge required to survive it. Di Mambro and Jouret bypassed the critical thinking of doctors and executives by wrapping a lethal doomsday ideology in the prestigious branding of secret wisdom. The cult's internal hierarchy functioned as a sophisticated spiritual pyramid scheme. Control was maintained through a rigid structure of escalating levels. Advancing to new levels of enlightenment required members to pay massive, escalating fees. The quest to access higher spiritual secrets steadily enriched the leadership while draining the assets of the professionals in the lower ranks. The financial stakes turned the spiritual path into a cage. To walk away was to admit that years of massive investment and a lifetime of commitment had been for nothing. In October 1994, that structure reached its lethal conclusion. When the transit doctrine was triggered, 53 people died. Both Di Mambro and Jouret perished in the fires they helped orchestrate. The Solar Temple was an engineered economic and psychological trap. By the end, the perceived cost of leaving was higher than the cost of staying. Law enforcement assumed the threat had ended with the deaths of Di Mambro and Jouret. With the leadership gone, the command structure appeared to be decapitated. The belief in the transit proved to be more resilient than the men who created it. In December 1995, investigators discovered 16 more bodies in a wooded area in France. The final wave struck in 1997, when 5 more members staged their own departures in Quebec. They died fully believing they were joining their peers on a journey to Sirius. The psychological cage was so effectively built that the doctrine became autonomous. Surviving members continued to execute the fatal plan years later, entirely on their own, without anyone remaining to give the order. The wreckage left behind by the Solar Temple forces a difficult question. Could highly successful professionals be lured into a similar movement today? The psychological vulnerabilities targeted by Dimambro and Jouret remain. Today, they are often rebranded, moving away from 1990s mysticism into the world of elite wellness, exclusive spiritual optimization, and proprietary coaching. The Order of the Solar Temple stands as a permanent warning. As long as the human need for transcendent meaning exists, intelligent people will remain targets for those who weaponize the search for the stars.